All right, well, we're going to kind of get started. People can slowly come in. We've just got a little housekeeping notes here and there. But let's start by introducing ourselves. So first of all, just because I'm hosting, I'm going to get myself out of the way real quick. I'm Emily Whalen. I am an associate technical SEO here at Lumar. And the big one here, the person we're here to see today, though, is Rasida Begum. She is the organic strategy director at Croud. She created this wonderful doc for forecasting your ROI. She's going to tell us all about it today, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear this. It's very, very cool. I got a big sneak peek of it earlier. But a couple of housekeeping notes while we're here. Here's just kind of the agenda today. So we are going to talk about this Tech SEO ROI Challenge, quantifying technical fixes, calculating revenue risk, and of course, questions and answers. This is the most important part. If you do have any questions along the way, please do look at the bottom of your screen in the Q&A section and go ahead and drop them in the Q&A section, preferably not the chat, but if it's in the chat, we'll try to catch those as well. All right, and just to let you guys know, so we are going to have closed captions enabled. So you can go ahead and click the closed caption icon at the bottom of the screen. That'll allow you to see things live, just to show subtitles. We also enable live transcript, and then the webinar recording in a few days will also have full subtitles included. So look out for that recording when it comes out in a few days. So questions again, type them in the Q&A box down at the bottom. And then we're also going to have a feedback portion at the end. So once this closes out, you're going to see a little feedback that really helps us figure out what you guys want to see from us and what's coming up in the next few months. So if you don't mind, take a minute to complete that. That would be amazing for Lumar. And we also pass it on to Croud too, so they have some ideas as well. And then also, like I said, we are going to be on demand. So we are recording this today, and then we are going to get it sent out. We're also going to have a blog write-up about it in a couple days, so keep a lookout for that. We will email you directly. All right. So let's start with some poll questions. We always like to start that way. So do you currently struggle to convey the benefits of ROI of SEO to your stakeholders? So simple yes or no. Let us know. How is that working out for you guys? I know sometimes it can be a struggle, and I don't even really talk to stakeholders as much as I talk to the people who are talking to the stakeholders. And let's see what we got for answers. Should be popping up anytime soon. Yes, 85% said yes, 15% said no. Rasida, is that a surprise to you?
No, it's not. It's a pretty common issue.
Yeah, and that's why we're here today.
Amazing. Cool. Thank you, Emily. That was a beautiful introduction. So just wanted to say hi to everyone. Thanks so much for attending. And just based on that poll, it sounds like calculating return is something that we've all at least faced at some point in our career. Just giving a bit of context to how I actually came to talk about this and creating this calculator. Last year, I spoke at Write an SEO, and the talk was about getting the yes in tech SEO implementation. And I spoke about getting stakeholder buy-in and how to deal with those blockers, more thinking about the relationship side of it. And part of that, I had spoken to 20 brands where I conducted a survey because I wanted to understand what are the biggest tech SEO challenges and are they common? One of the key findings was that 50% of those brands, so both in-house and agencies, said return on investment actually stopped their projects moving forward and had to be halted. And this was across the two streams of technical SEO. How I identify this is the first pool being the things that are just happening in your existing website structures. So they're the annoying bugs, the things that break. So then you raise it and then it ends up sitting in a backlog for a really long time. And then it increases frustration. It also increases risks to revenue because of the way the business prioritizes bugs. Then you have the changes where it feels like it might be a tiny change, but it's actually a change you want to roll out or scale, say, across the whole site or across a really large page type. So that means it requires increased resource, meaning increased cost. So it requires that further justification on why we should do it and what the return is. Regardless, though, if it's a bug or if it's a big shiny project, the feedback you'll get is that's amazing. This sounds so exciting. However, what's the return? What's the revenue? What's the traffic? Can you quantify it? Give us a number. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. And it's not uncommon to feel like this because most of us don't have time in our day-to-days, and when we are putting a project together, we focus so much on the ideation, whereas we don't have time on the forecasting section. So this is why I wanted to create something really easy to use so we can move away from this feeling and have confidence in what we're putting forward. The good thing is it is absolutely possible to forecast a return on SEO projects, in particular tech SEO. The first step is you have to organize your existing data. So wherever your data sits, whether it's internal or external, if you're having to manually extract it, you need to understand your actual page groups. So start by categorizing and segmenting. So for example, if you're an e-commerce site, and you're looking at everything from a single URL level, it's not giving you an understanding of what's happening or where a problem, the root of a problem is. So you want to start categorizing, for example, product landing pages across categories together, PDBs together, so product pages, home pages together, brand pages, campaign. So then you can isolate issues, but also quite quickly understand when a problem happens, you can segment it. Second is, again, this feels probably to a lot of people like fundamentals, but you'll be shocked when I worked with a lot of retailers that make around 200 million online per year. Most of them don't do this. When I started, I had to implement it. So this is why I'm reiterating it. The second point is making sure your revenue or leads is available at URL level, because then you have the data to understand the size of an issue or the opportunity size. So once you've got your data organized and you have confidence, we can move forward and calculate a return. So when it comes to bugs, how do we quantify a technical fix? What I love about bugs and existing issues, they already have data attributed to them because they exist in the current structure. So what you can do, what I would advise, especially if your ticket is sat in a backlog with no real data attached to it, is build a report and get ahead of your data. So start to understand what's happening at that page level or that category group level or page type, and then isolate it so you're able to monitor it. I love this visualization of trend lines. It's just from Google. It's not my work, it's Google's, because I feel like it can give you an understanding of what's happening on your site. What's most apparent to this talk is the bottom left. So you can see the trend line gradually falls down and then it steadily pretty much will decline. And this is an indication of technical issues or algorithm changes or any sort of disruption. It can give you a heads up of what's to come. So now to actually calculate the risk when it comes to existing bugs. Like I mentioned, you already have data attributed to these pages. So the key is to utilize that. So say if we take the issue or group of pages as an example, and then we understand the weekly revenue that generates. Then we divide that by 7 to give us a daily average revenue. The reason why you use a daily average versus an actual daily revenue figure is because of the volatility you see day to day. For example, the figure you'd see on Saturday versus a Monday would be significantly different. So this is a fair representation of what a daily revenue would look like. So say your daily revenue for this problem or issue is £10,000. Say it takes your team roughly 14 working days to fix this issue. All you do is 14 times 10,000. The wording here is really key because when you're working with people, you have to be so sensitive and you don't want to be abrupt in suddenly saying, hey, it takes your team 14 days to do this, so this is the calculation. You want to approach it sensitively and say, hey, we're contextualizing things and we're trying to understand risk better in our team, and this is how we're going about it. Would you like to feed into the amount of days it might take to fix? So I just wanted to caveat that because we don't want to break relationships, we want to make them stronger. But this is a great internal metric. But I would also advise you to communicate it once that relationship is good, and if it's already good, it's a great time to have that conversation. So 14 times that 10,000 daily revenue figure gives us £140,000. This means the revenue at risk for this issue is £140,000. That's a pretty significant number. And if you just sat with it for a second, it's pretty hard to ignore that figure. It's 6 figures. Again, here I've been really intentional. We don't need to dramatize anything. And this is why I've not used the word loss. I've used the word risk because that's exactly what it is. It's a potential risk that this can be impacted if we don't do anything, but it's not being impacted right now. Some of you might say, well, this is an estimation. And what I would say to that, exactly. That is what estimation by definition is. It's just a projection of what might happen, but nothing's guaranteed. It's just using data points and logic to understand what is possible. Those data points can be changed, but everything that's projected will always be an estimation. Now moving forward to the new technical changes. This is where a lot of work is needed because if you're thinking about scaling something out, even if it's just a page template or across a few hundred or few thousand pages, you have to think about the amount of work that needs to go into it. So the likelihood of that need to be forecasted is ridiculously high, and this will help with that. What you'll do here is use your existing data points, so the ones that are already tracked and you have available to you. And then you also use estimations. By marrying these up, it will give us a pretty strong projection of what is possible. Now to actually calculate the revenue opportunity. Here, what I wanted to say is, when you think about tech SEO, I think it's really important to remember that even with technical SEO projects, it will always be tied to a URL. Therefore, it will always be tied to a keyword. So that means it can be forecasted. We can use those data points to forecast. And then if there are other metrics that need to be changed, you can do that. And I'll show you how to later on. But it's just remember, it's key to remember that every SEO issue will have a keyword related to it. And that's the logic I've used here. So I'm going to run through the calculations on how to calculate the return of your project. First, what we need to do is actually understand the relationship between traffic and clicks, because one click does not equal one session. They're not equal in terms of on a one-on-one basis. What you can do to get the ratio to understand that is just use your existing monthly traffic, so the same period, divide that by your existing monthly clicks. That will give you a ratio, so you understand what one click equals into one session, and then we can align it. Once you've got your ratio, keep it there. Then what we want to do is understand, okay, what will we get from this project in terms of clicks? So what you want to use is your click-through rate, which is in Search Console. You can either use industry benchmark, where they say to you, if you're in X industry and you're in position 2, you'll get this return. I personally don't recommend that because you'll realize that's pretty inaccurate to your own data. And I always say it's better to use your own data than borrowed data because you can always revisit it and you have high confidence. So use your own click-through rate, and I'll go into a bit more detail how to do that. Then you want to times that by the total search volume of keywords you'd like to target in that period. So once you've times that, that will give you an understanding of how many clicks you can potentially achieve in this project. With the click-through rate, what you can do in Search Console is just use your generic keyword click-through rate. So filter out all your brand keywords or anything that you think will influence brand performance. So then you're purely looking at generic. And then if your project is only looking at, say, a page type, you can narrow it down to that. And I would highly recommend you use that over the click curve borrowed data. With search volume, and I've definitely been guilty of this before, with the total, you want to make sure it's defined by what can be actually actioned in reality in your forecasting timeline. So if in reality your team side right now, and it's not going to change, can only really do, say, 300 keywords, but your forecast or your search volume total is actually looking at 3,000 keywords, then it's not realistic with what's actually achievable. So make sure it reflects the resource you have available when this project goes live. Back to the calculation. So now we have the ratio and we have the click estimation. We can times these, and this will enable us to understand the estimated opportunity size in traffic. So ratio times the clicks estimation we've figured out already will give us the opportunity size in traffic. Using that traffic estimation, we can times it by the conversion rate. And here I would use your existing conversion rate. The reason why I say use your existing conversion rate is because the main KPI for this project is traffic. With all things we do in SEO, majority of it is to acquire traffic. So here you can keep that flat. I will also discuss this later if you do want to change it. So traffic times your existing conversion rate will give you your transactions. So the amount of projected transactions you will achieve in this project. Using the transactions estimation, you want to use your existing average order value. And then this will give you your projected revenue. The great thing about forecasts, and this is a really key point, is they are objective. So they should only be challenged with numbers and not subjective opinions such as I don't agree or I don't really think that looks right, because that's not helping the conversation. So how to navigate that, I would say, is invite the person for their input and say, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. However, like, can you share what data points you're using? Can you share what data you're referencing? Is there a different benchmark we should be using? Invite them to share data with you so you can always navigate the conversation back to being objective rather than subjective. In my career, a lot of the times I've had people say, I just don't agree. And it's like, well, I can't really do much with that you don't agree. Tell me why you don't agree or share with me some data points so we can align. And with this calculator, I will show you it in a few slides. The great thing is you're able to really get down to details, and if people do question you, you're able to say, at what level do you disagree? The other thing, I'm glad I didn't forget, I want to say is sometimes I feel SEOs, including myself in the past, we forget that other channels also forecast in a similar way. They also deal with unknowns. They also don't know what's going to happen. Whilst we have more variables with what we can control and can't control, our projections will always have unknowns. So there's a bit of peace in knowing that it's not just us projecting this way. A lot of marketing channels do it and other mediums. These are the calculations I ran through with you. The first one's just in the wrong order, but it's the same thing. So click-through rate times search volume will give you the click estimation. Dividing your traffic by clicks will give you your traffic to click ratio. And then timesing your ratio by your clicks estimation will give you your traffic estimation. And then timesing your traffic estimation with your existing conversion rate will give you transactions. Your transactions times your average order value, your existing one, will give you revenue. Here is where you can change things if you like. So for example, I mentioned the main KPI for this forecast is traffic. But say yours is conversion rate because you're targeting a higher price point. You can then just change the conversion rate to the projected one that you believe you'll achieve, similarly with the AOV. But in this forecast, they are secondary, because I also believe that conversion rate and AOV is not just influenced by SEO, it's influenced by many things that happen on the site through UX, through product. So this is where you can also bring them in and say, are you running any tests? Is there anything happening in the next upcoming months or year that you believe we're going to see an increase or decrease? And then this could be influenced. But of course, this can also be influenced through keyword targeting based on price point. Sorry, I've just got a notification, one sec, that my browser might relaunch. Okay, hopefully it doesn't relaunch. Okay, so this is the calculator. You can just scan it with your phone. So it should just directly take you to the sheet. If you do that now, let us know if you can't. So everything in pink needs to be inputted, and everything in purple is generated. So you need to put in your monthly traffic. This will just be from your analytics source, so whether that's GA4 or Omnichannel, whatever internal system you're using. Then monthly clicks is from Search Console. This will give you your traffic to click ratio, so you don't have to figure it out. Your click-through rate you'll get from your Search Console. Your total search volume, here I've used a projection timeline of a year. Obviously, if it's less than that, use less. And then conversion rate, I've also used annual, AOV annual. So the search volume you can get from any keyword tool, conversion rate, again, from an analytics tool, AOV, your analytics tool. At the bottom, based on these metrics, you'll get your annual return. So based on this, some of this data is somewhat accurate to a brand, and some of it is not. So the annual return based on these metrics, click estimation is 538,000. That translates into traffic at roughly 234,000, meaning in transactions, you'll get 3,276, meaning the forecasted revenue for this project is $200,042. So pretty substantial. And with this as well, when you actually go into the calculator, which I should actually go into now, one sec. Give me a second. Once you've opened it.
While you're looking that up, I was going to share that the QR code will go to that calculator for all of you guys out there.
Fab, I'm back. Let me share my screen again. Oh, can everyone see that? Yeah. Oh, Emily, are you speaking?
I am. Yes, I would say just zoom in a bit and I think it'll help. But yes, everyone can see.
Okay, cool. This is what you should see when you open the QR code. And the conversation I mentioned earlier about if you're challenged, this is great to use when you're being challenged, because, for example, you can then say to them, oh, okay, so do you think we should lower the click-through rate? Or do you think the search volume is too high? Do you think our conversion rate is going to be lowered? Similarly with AOV, you can start questioning things at a metric level, which will again allow the conversation to be objective rather than subjective. And then you also then don't have to do too much work because it will still calculate it for you. And then you're left with a really nice forecasted revenue figure. And then the only last thing to do is to actually just go live and share it with everyone and say you did it. So it is a lot of work getting things signed off. But when it is live and you're able to see it, it's really exciting. So hopefully the calculator will enable conversations, allow you to feel confident in putting a number forward. And I would always encourage people, don't be scared to put a number forward. It's just how marketing works across all channels. Put it forward, have a conversation, and make sure the conversation's back and forth so you feel like you're actually moving it forward. And then you are live and it's all good and it all worked out in the end. You can celebrate.
Yay, I love it. All right, are you ready for a few questions? We've got a few questions that have come in.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. I will stop sharing.
All right, so no two technical projects would have an identical impact, and this is from Emran. How do you navigate the conversation with the client when proposing the following project? And this is isolated to PLPs only. So one is hidden breadcrumbs, and the other is best-in-class pagination.
Pagination is always a difficult one, but I feel like it can be calculated using the same methodology. Because again, you can look at the existing impact of, say, a category, and then understand the current depth it's being crawled at, then forecast what the percentage of depth that isn't being crawled will bring back in revenue and traffic by understanding what keywords you're not targeting through the depth. So that's how I do pagination. In breadcrumbs, I think breadcrumbs is more difficult, and I would start to understand firstly the internal linking structure, and then also actually run log file analysis and look at the relationship, and then look at how that is actually impacting your keyword levels. I wouldn't jump to forecasting. I would first make sure you actually understand what's going on fully technically, and then look at forecasting holistically, not just at an internal link point of view.
Excellent. Let's see, one just came in the chat. Do you use control data? And if so, how long before the implementation to calculate the improvement or not of said implementation?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because I was thinking about this actually. With the controlled versus testing variables, this test is really simple in terms of that regard. It is literally a pre and post. Can we have audio on for questions? Can people hear me?
I believe so. I'm guessing maybe they want to add a question directly.
Okay, cool. So yeah, in terms of the forecasting, it is honestly just pre and post. It doesn't have any control groups or any test groups. It's just literally looking at, okay, if we think about doing this project, when it goes live, this is what we expect to see. So that 12-month or 6-month period is after you go live, not before.
All right. We have another one. Is monthly traffic equal to views by users or sessions?
Sessions.
Sessions. Excellent. Does your management team now see the financial benefit of tech SEO? This has been hard for us to communicate, so sounds like a lot of people are struggling with this.
Yeah, to be honest, I just joined Croud a few months ago, but our clients have been really receptive to the formal work the team's done. So the time I came, all the forecasts had already been done, and it's in a place where people are actually more willing to receive forecasts and have conversations. In my previous places, with retailers in particular, they were really keen on forecasts as well. I think especially in the retail space, everything is about revenue, especially when the market is down. So we are more prone to have conversations around performance and projections and actually actualizing it on a monthly basis. Where it has been difficult is where, say, SEO is not a huge part of the marketing, or say it's a smaller portion and you're trying to get that like the PR for SEO internally, and then you're trying to get investment behind it. And I feel like with that issue, you need to first address actually getting that internal buy-in before you think about anything else, because then it's difficult.
Yeah. How can you determine the monthly volume per keyword? This varies greatly depending on the ranking your page has. Do you estimate the new position after the technical improvements? So let's 3 questions together. Well, 2 questions.
Okay, I think there might be a bit of misunderstanding to what I meant by search volume. So search volume is the average amount of time someone searches for that in Google. So that's where that metric is coming from. And then the click-through rate is using your own data. So you're saying if, say, a word is searched 1,000 times and your click-through rate is estimated in your own data 2%, then you times that by the search volume to understand what the return would be. So the search volume isn't your own data, it's what people are searching in Google.
How do I forecast a group of pages that don't have history? So CTR and clicks in Google Search Console.
Yeah, I think that's a more difficult one that I haven't addressed here. But what I would still do is a lot of the metrics you should still be able to fill out other than click-through rate. So you can still use a generic click-through rate. If it's a completely different, say, product dissimilar to what you already selling, then it can be challenging, but not impossible, because if it's completely new, then everything you're doing is new anyway. So you're going to have to start from somewhere. So I would almost use that way of thinking and say, well, we don't have any data points, everything's new. So why don't we just use the existing ones and in a month check in and see what data we have and revisit it.
All right. They warn it's a little off topic, but they'd love to know if you have a process for SEO campaign forecasting as well. And if so, any chance you will have another webinar on this topic?
I don't. So when it'd be good to elaborate what you mean by SEO campaign, because I feel like with this, you could project SEO campaigns to, say you guys are launching something and it's been led by PR and brand, and SEO is supporting it through certain landing pages. You can still use those landing pages and potential reach to estimate what the return is. I think with campaigns, and my interpretation of campaign is that it is more PR and brand led. You can let me know if I've misunderstood that. Is because it will most likely be either brand led or a new product. You're in its early stages, so you're almost guessing what the search volume might be. So you have to include that in your thinking and just be able to explain it.
Right. No comments. I don't know if they have anything additional
Okay.
they wanted to add.
Let me know if I've misunderstood anything too. I know, questions can be interpreted differently, but that's how I would do it.
Nope, they said perfect. Thank you. They love it.
Okay, brilliant.
All right. So I'm gonna give maybe a couple more and then I think we'll wrap up. So give me a second. Why do you use a generic CTR rather than the CTR of the position increase? Do you think change will help, i.e. if you are in position 3 for the keywords on a page and you think the technical fix will get you to position 2?
Yeah, so the reason I intentionally didn't use average position is exactly to your point. It varies pretty much across keywords. It varies so significantly that it's so hard to say, okay, if we have 200 keywords and we take the average, how accurate is that? So that's why I look at it from a click-through rate based on what clicks we estimate to get rather than what position, because the clicks is closer to traffic, therefore closer to revenue. So that's why I intentionally approached it that way rather than average position, which is much further away from the actual revenue figure.
All right, give me a second, jumping around a little bit. Here's an interesting one. So if you needed to create a quick elevator pitch, language that summarizes succinctly how SEO projects in general can impact broader business goals and revenue. How would you phrase it? What would be your elevator pitch?
I feel like SEO is the medium that makes every other channel work better. It's about creating an amazing customer experience and actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Maximizing your brand across all avenues, really about also increasing your brand's equity. So I would tie SEO in relation to what the brand wants to achieve overarchingly. So what is their actual business goal and how can SEO help? Because SEO is long term, you have to think about what does it bring to the brand? Meaning like what you do in SEO today will carry on giving as long as it's the right strategy in 5 years, in 10 years. And if a brand wants longevity and they want to invest in the brand and believe in its quality, then SEO is the right place to start.
We have a comment from the chat from Joy that says, "Oh, now I understand." So yay. All right. Last question before we go, Rasida. So
Okay.
we say this is a long discussion, but how do you forecast benefits of trickier metrics like hreflang?
Hreflang, I think international content, you still have to use the same methodology in terms of look at it at a market view level. So for example, if you're wanting to expand to a certain market and need X coverage, you need to still understand the click-through rate, the click estimation, what the search volume is, and then tie it back to hreflang, because hreflang is all about reach across markets for the same or similar content. So you need to almost go back to square one and think about, okay, from a market perspective, what is the demand? What is the reach? And then hreflang backs that up because it enables you to reach those local customers. I would view it as a new business case, that one, or even if it's an existing market, try to approach it in that manner.
Wow. All right. Well, that is it for today. Thank you guys all so much for your questions. I just wanted to run one last poll question by you guys today before we thank Rasida. And it's going to pop up here soon. Hopefully. But I am from Lumar, so I am going to have to ask, would you like a demo of the Lumar technical SEO platform? So yes, maybe later, not at this time. Just know that I am on the PS team and sometimes you get to hang out with me and learn cool things and we get to do cool things together. So know that. Let's see. I don't know if we get a poll answers back on this one. I think we don't. So, but hopefully you say yes and hopefully you get to come hang out with me. Rasida, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I've never seen the chat so busy. There were so many great questions. I think this is incredibly valuable. So thank you so much for joining with us today. I appreciate it. Just a couple last things. So we do have that ROI calculator from Rasida. We have posted it in the chat. It will be available to you guys as well via the blog, and I think we'll probably send it out. So go ahead and check that out. Use it. It's a really excellent. I played around with it the other day. It's awesome. Please go check it out. Also want to remind you guys, if you're looking for a deeper dive, we do, of course, have our Lumar.io blog. So please go check that out. And we do have an upcoming webinar on what we are calling custom metrics, which is customized website crawling. So it's using our crawler, but kind of making it work the way you need it to work. So this is a cool new tool that we've just recently introduced. We're just all learning all the cool stuff about it. And we want to, like I said, learn it with you. That's part of the demo stuff. That's part of hanging out with me. We get to go do really cool stuff with your websites. So one last time, thank you, Rasida. That was amazing. Thank you to all of you for coming today, asking such brilliant questions. And we hope that we see you at the next one. Rasida, any last final words?
Well, just thank you to everyone and the questions. Really appreciate it. I feel like I just wanted it to help people, so hopefully it's done that. And yeah, I'm happy to answer questions and things like that after too.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.